Hi everyone, Katie Petite from KatiePetiteDesigns.com. Thank you for joining me for some quick crafting today. I'm just going to be making a card. I'm going to use some ink and printable washi. This is one of the engraved paint clusters available on KatiePetiteDesigns.com, and I just printed it out on washi sticker paper. I did use my color laser. You can also print onto color inkjet. You just have to remember that with an inkjet, it's a little bit more water reactive. So if you add ink, you'll want to add it below instead of on top. So for this one though, I'm going to get started by just adding my image here. And I'm gonna slice it so that I can use it. I'm going to use half of it, and then I can use the other half for something else later on. So, see, that would make like a nice edge on something. And for this one, I'm going to use this edge. Okay. So, like I said, this is washi sticker paper. Once you've printed, all you have to do is rub your finger along the side and you know what, I'm going to kind of tear this for a little bit more organic feel to it. You will see the edges, but that's okay. They'll fade away. They're not something that are going to stick out like a sore thumb. All right, so I'm just gonna try to line up my print on the edge there. And oops, I think I got a little bit of a crinkle, so gently pulling back to try to smooth that out a bit. I'm gonna grab a bone folder to try to do that. Yeah, okay. Sometimes best laid plans, right? And looks like I've got a little toner. Sometimes with my printer, I don't know if I didn't choose the paper type correctly before I printed. And I've got a little strip here, but you know what? We can fix that up with adding some washi paper or something later on. I'm going to just trim off this top part here. There we go. Okay, and then I want to add some more ink to this. So I'm going to take my acrylic block and the broken china oxide, just pull it across the block, and then spritz it with a little bit of water, not a lot. And see, I think I can even come in here and add enough blue on the bottom that that gap will be less noticeable. See how the ink just kind of ties it all together? It picks up on the splatters on the print and pulls it together for the background. And then just some paper towel, clean this off. All right, then drying. Now when you are using washi and then you use a heat gun, you do have to be careful not to get it too hot because it can melt and crinkle. So I'm mostly drying around the edges and not so much on the washi itself. And then once that's all dried up, I'm actually going to come in here with my paper towel and dab it a little. Okay, so then I've got my card. I'm gonna zoom in a little bit more. Whoops, this way. So you can see it a little closer. There we go. Okay, now what I'd like to do is come in with some handwriting for like texture. So I'm grabbing the stamp right now. And I'm gonna grab my archival inks. I'm gonna go with the shadow gray. And this is a letterbox remnant stamp that I designed for Arden. And these polymer stamps are really nice and they're sticky on the back. So all I have to do is put it on my fingers and stamp. You're not stamping for readability, you are stamping for texture. So that's what I'm doing here. And again, by doing this, you're integrating the textures in the engraved cluster into the background paper. And I think that takes care of that. I'm gonna just spray my paper towel a little bit. And that way I can just kind of dab my stamp, kind of clean it off, cover up my inks. And this is a good, it's a good foundation for a card. And so you could add like a cluster onto it or a sentiment. And for this one, I'm just gonna go with a sentiment and let the abstract art in the background kind of speak for itself. Okay, I pulled out some printable word strips that I'm going to use as my sentiment for this birthday card, but I am rethinking, which I often do, and I'm going to add a little bit of paint. Now I'm just going to add some white acrylic. I like to add it to the bottom of my palette knife, and this, it kind of tones it back. It kind of connects everything even more when you do this. And I just drag in a vertical motion. Helps to have the lid off. Grab a little bit more. Not too much because I don't want to overdo it, which happens more than enough times. And again, just kind of pulling and kind of softening. All right. There, more, it's an abstract piece of art that I'm sending as a birthday card. So now I need to make sure that that gets thoroughly dried, and then I can attach the sentiment. So just wiping off my palette knife. And in the meantime, I can cut my sentiment. I'm gonna go with just a classic happy birthday. There are a number of different printable sentiment strips on katiepertitedesigns.com. And all of them include a PDF. I printed this onto a heavyweight, bright white paper. And I will link that below as well, as it is my go-to for things like this. And then I like to use these shears. They're just like hairdresser thinning shears. But when you cut and pull, you get like a postage edge on them. And I really like that vibe that it gives the element. So it just kind of amps it up a notch. And like I said, I still need to wait for this to dry a little bit, but then I will put that sentiment on. Okay, it's all dry now, and I'm gonna take this sentiment and add it. I use Scotch tacky glue. Lots of other glues work great too. This is just one that I've grown to using. And I'm just gonna kind of set it a little more than halfway down and over to the side. And I don't know if I mentioned when I started, but I start with these pre-cut 4x6 cards, which I will link down below. But then I always trim off like 1/8 of an inch, and this little bit here is bugging me. So I'm gonna trim off a little bit more. And the reason I do that is so that I can then easily mount them onto a 4x6 card front, which I then put on a folded card. So lots of layers to the card making. But going to mount it onto this, I'm using some of the Easy Runner adhesive. Just going to add a little bit in the corners. Sometimes if my paper is kind of bubbly, I will add a long strip, so I'm sure to get adhesion on the sides and not pop up. And then I just kind of eyeball it for the center of the card, giving it a little border. And there I have my card front. You could add things to this. You know, a nice butterfly would be nice on this. In fact, let's see, what do I have here? I'm sure I have a butterfly or 2 or 3 floating around. And I found one, a nice blue one that matches really nicely from my page starter laser cuts with Arden Creative. I'm just going to add some glue on the center. That way it can kind of pop him up a little bit. And I'm going to turn it that way. All right, so now I've got a nice butterfly on my card, and I can mount this onto my regular cards that I just trim down and put on so that I can write a note inside, and then I'm all set. So that is as easy as it gets. So just some ink, some printables, scissors, glue, paint, just a few things, and I've got a cute little birthday card. So thank you for following along and joining me, and remember to like and subscribe if you liked this video, and follow me on Instagram, and you can see quick little clips too of how these projects are put together. All right, happy crafting, everyone.